All right. I just like this part. Hold on, it's coming. Got to give it a few minutes. Oh, yeah. It's longer than I thought, but it's coming. Really far into the intro, man. That's what 56 seconds into the intro. Hmm. I guess I'll shorten it up next time. All right. Well, anyway, hey guys, it's Brian. It's not Renegade Radio. John's not here today, so I was just jumping on to say hi. I know I'm a little late. It's what, about 11:12 a.m. And it's Wednesday, and I was supposed to be here at what 9 on Monday, so a little bit late. Sorry about that. Just lazy, just being lazy and watching the news and what a depressing time this is. Crazy yet depressing, especially if you watch the news all day, which I don't recommend anymore. I'm starting to agree with people where you should just stick your head in the sand. These people are crazy, man. What is going on right now is absolutely crazy. And then on top of that, you got a president which he did that thing where he got lost on stage again. He was trying to make a dramatic exit, like he was stomping off the stage, like yeah, like how I don't know, like an athlete would go off the stage or a boxer would just knock somebody out, or Trump anytime he does a good speech, Biden tried to do that, but he walked off the wrong stage. So Secret Service had to turn him around. Like Easter Bunny popped out. Wrong way, sir. So that's going on. And then I guess it was the Wall Street Journal's talking about how we're going to war with China soon. So we're already, just in case you haven't noticed, we're already fighting Iran and Syria. We're fighting Russia and the Ukraine, and we're going to be fighting China. Meanwhile, we're supplying everyone with equipment and oil, even the enemy. Doesn't matter. So anyway, I figured I would jump on and spread some good news. Oof. What a crazy time we're living in, man. Absolutely amazing. And we're led by morons. Like Joe Biden is like one of the most just out of it, demented, just not qualified. Something's wrong with the man type of thing where we just allow him to be president. You know why? Because the alternative is Camilla. And that's even worse. She's horrible. Look, all you racists are saying that. It has nothing to do with her color or her gender. It's her. She stinks. I think one of my favorite things she did was when she hired those kid actors and she was talking about space, and she really is just a bad actress. And she's not interesting anyway. She's not a real person, so she's like Hillary. She's got to try to relate to humans. Actually, she's Liz Warren. You remember when Liz Warren put out that video? I think it was like one of those TikTok videos, like in the beginning, or Twitter, one of those. And it was her just chilling at home, and she's having a brewski, just kicking back like everybody does. And then her husband comes in, starts walking through the scene, and she's like, "What are you doing here, husband? Would you like a cold one?" They just can't relate to like normal human beings because they're not. I don't know how privileged you have to be to totally not be able to be empathetic or just relate, to anybody on a human level. It's very odd, but those are the people we elected, the lizard people, and that's kind of what they are. It's just absolutely crazy. But of course, there was that shooting. I guess it was what, a day or two ago now. Like, oof, in that Catholic school, and I guess they killed 3 children and 3 adults, and the mainstream media is like going a different way than everybody thought. Like normally, when you knew they were going to go against the Second Amendment because that's Joe Biden's thing. Even though everything he said the other day about the gun and the bullet that explodes inside you and all that is just wrong. Those are the people that talk the most, the people that know the least. And they don't understand too. Like, yes, you're blaming the fact that this person had these guns, but what ended the threat was it was a good person with a gun. So it kind of averages out. Like, and the fact of the matter is, would you want that shooter, which I'm sure actually probably was, to be able to outgun the cops? This is silly. This is silly. Like all you're doing when you put these new laws, or what they try to put in, these Democrats, just to make it look like they're actually doing something. And then it makes you look like a jerk off if you don't agree because you're against, like, man. Oh, so you're for school shootings? Don't be stupid. Don't be dumb. But that's kind of like what they do. They kind of simplify everything and just, if you associate blame with anything, then you're right, they're wrong, you're holier than thou or whatever. But I think it's just incredible the hypocrisy of this one, because this one really kind of blew up in their laps, because like it's a trans person, which I'll be honest with you, I got totally confused in the beginning when they were they were saying it was a trans female. Look, man, I know I'm old and all that, but what does that mean? Like that it's a guy that transformed into a woman, or is it a woman that transforming into a guy? I don't understand what you're doing. And then finally, I guess you found out it was a woman that was transforming into a guy, taking hormones and things like that. Of course, they won't release any blood results or anything. I was watching, I think it was a Tucker or some one of those last night, and they were saying how I guess that they're not releasing a lot to the press. Like there's a manifesto that's not being released yet. There's, like I guess it was maps, because the first day the police chief, I guess it was standing out there, like he kind of opened up about everything. He didn't know better. He was just, he was talking about like, oh, we found a manifesto and a map and a video, and like this wasn't like one of those things where somebody snapped, and went off. This was well thought out and planned and whatever. And it doesn't fit the narrative. They wanted it to be a Christian person, although this was an attack in a Catholic church school, a church school type thing that is there, and just like you can't say that though. If that's a hate crime, like that. What happened the other day was, this person went and fought, and what the news is trying to spin it out to be is that how Catholics don't accept trans people, and which is weird, because I think the Pope did some sort of reversal a while ago about homosexuality or something. I mean, okay, he's changing all the rules, which is weird, because you would think if those rules were in place for a few thousand years, like who are you to change them? It's kind of like what Biden's doing with our Constitution and things like that. But you know, uh, I don't know. I'd say it was a very hateful act, but they don't talk about it. And I think it was Tucker was making a great point. Like, I want to know the results. Like, was this person on drugs? And obviously they want hormones if they were transforming to a guy, so they must have testosterone. For guys, and as weird as it is, I think every guy and every parent that has a teenage son sees it. The first time they have to deal with their son dealing with the testosterone, because it's a rush. Like it's like it's an aggressive rush. As weird as that is, it is what it is. And it doesn't mean you have to be wanting to hit somebody or whatever. It's like it's just an aggressive type of rush. And if you're not used to that, and especially I would assume being a woman her entire life, and then transforming to a guy or whatever they say. Um, that's a hard thing to deal with. You know what I mean? And if not used to that aggression, and you're living in a world now where they're telling people to arm themselves and shoot people that disagree with you, which is beyond me. This country is falling apart right in front of our eyes, and all within 2 years. I know everybody's going to blame Trump, but I'll tell you something. If you want to be honest with yourselves, think back a few years ago. Were you better off? Did you have more money in the bank? Were you able to buy more crap? Did you go on more vacations? Were you able to buy more at the grocery store? You know what I mean? Like, did you not cringe when you went to fill up your tank? You know what I mean? Like, I know people here in Massachusetts during the winter, they got to fill their oil tanks, and now it's like tripled, and you got to fill twice. Like, it's crazy how much money people are spending on this stuff. But you know, I don't know. I think we're in a lot of trouble here, man. Like that. This just kind of caught my eye here. It's saying that the media is mocking prayer, and smears against Christianity marks coverage of Nashville massacre, and that's what they were mocking. The victims and the ideology of the school where the children were killed. I'm like, what is going on? These people are crazy. You know what I mean? Like I said, you have a trans person who once again, I'd like to know how much testosterone were they giving her? Maybe they were giving her too much. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? Like, this is a new thing. You're effing around with somebody's hormones. It's not like everybody acts like it's like taking an aspirin. You know what I mean? You're messing around with biology. You are changing something, that nature did. You know what I mean? And sometimes you're gonna f up. Sometimes there's gonna be a little short circuit. It's craziness that we're doing that, but you know, is what it is. I here's where I'll probably get somebody saying something silly, but you know what? I thought was bizarre. The day, this happened, and they're talking about I don't know how you look at a child and you put a gun and you shoot them, just horrible. And then the people that the adults that went to help and they died and just horrible, you know? And you think about, like what type of a person does that? And instead of saying, "Hey, that person had obvious mental issues," and well, they're talking to the cop, and that was one of the questions, and it was, "Do they have a history of mental illness?" And the cop said, "No." Now, look, man, I'm sorry, but you're telling me that the woman that's trying to be a man doesn't have a mental issue? Like, I mean, come on. Whether, that's right to say or not, it's true. That's a mental issue. You obviously have something mentally, wrong where you think that you are a different sex or whatever, and you're acting on it. You're sometimes mutilating your body. You're just doing whatever. I understand people are allowed to do it. You're allowed to do whatever you want in this country. That's what makes it great. You know what I mean? But the fact that you know there's going to be repercussions for stuff like this. There are people that and that's why the left pushing. Nobody had a problem with anything that was going on until you started bringing transsexuals in front of children and having them twerk and thinking that was liberating for some reason. You know what I mean? Until when you have these mothers, fathers too, that have Munchausen, have these weird attention deficits that they have to fill through their children, and that's nothing new, by the way. They used to be called soccer moms and cheerleader moms, and like the mom that was so annoying that would do the cheers along with the cheerleaders in the stand and get annoyed when they got just just living through them. And now you have an opportunity to be the first one on your block that chopped your son's wiener off. You know what I mean? Like you're going to change your kid's DNA because he one time said to you as you were talking to him and treating him like a girl for years to try to condition him into that. Just silly. It's just you can't get a tattoo when you're that age, because it's permanent. You don't want to make a permanent decision when you're 8, but you're more than welcome to change your gender now. Just crazy, just absolute craziness going on. But just that was the first thing that popped in my head when they were questioning the mental state of the person and asked if they had some sort of problem. Well, yeah, I could think of one. I'm not, not a biologist or psychiatrist or anything, but I got an idea. Hey, something? How about I just throw the idea out and you run with it? Tell me if I'm right or not, or go check it out. But that's why that will never be released. It's kind of like, I don't know if people remember. I think this is going to be like the same thing and I hate saying this, but most shootings, the left will use it for their purposes for a little bit, and then they'll move on to the next thing and just totally forget about it. Think about this. The Vegas shooter. Anybody remember remember that? Remember how that was the worst shooting, mass shooting in this country? Those poor people just went a pen, basically. At a concert, in Vegas, and this guy just somehow cut through the glass that just stop. But two of them, I think, or three of them, and put these little perches up there, and just incredible. Like it was like things you see in Mission Impossible, like just stupid. Just that this guy could do all this, and then he was shooting at the planes, and he was shooting at the tanks of gas, I guess, on the airport that were across from the hotel, and just incredible things. And then what happened with that? Okay, yeah, that's my point. Like it just all that crazy stuff went on it, and then you heard stuff like, "Well, the cops were watching the house, but only during the daytime. They had the night offs." And what happened was, I guess one guy left at 7, came back at 7 in the morning, and noticed that they had stolen the hard drive out of his laptop. The guy that just did the biggest mass shooting in the history of America. Yeah, and somebody just forgot to take his laptop. Like they didn't take the laptop home with them. You know what I mean? Like the cops just outside. I was like, well, this is just like any other day, any other shift. Hey, I understand. Yeah, I know who the guy is, but you know something? I have a dinner reservation at 8:30, and I just got to go. I got to go. I don't normally do this. Me, I'm a great cop, and I want to stay around and do, put the OT in, but really hard to get reservations here. And if I cancel, it's going to take weeks to get back in. So but that went away like everything else did. They use it for a purpose. You know what I mean? They get to yell about the Second Amendment for a while. The fact that this president is so anti Second Amendment bothers me. The fact that he has people that are on the left that aren't the crazy, Presleys and Talibs, Omars, but just regular people that support that is mind-boggling to me. It's mind-boggling. There's a guy, I'm gonna try to find it before I get out of here. He does those raps. He did the Nancy Pelosi rap that is filthy. It's funny. It's very funny, but it's filthy. And he talks about her boobs and all this stuff, and it's just amazingly funny. And I gotta admit, he's not that great of a rapper either. Like I keep thinking, like sometimes when you listen to it, you're thinking like, nah, he kind of forced that sentence in there when you really shouldn't have. I mean, if I were writing this, I mean, granted, I didn't nothing to do with it, probably couldn't, but just I don't know. That was just my observation, and I'll play it for you before I get out of here. Um, but that, yeah, very funny stuff. But they're talking about there's a manifesto now. There was a plan, there was a map, and apparently there was another target that this shooter here in Nashville, was going for, but then decided not to because it was too much security. Like, so with that, you would think most normal people would say, well, okay, the shooter said there was too much security, so didn't go there. I want to do that. Whatever they're doing was a really good example of what should be done pretty much everywhere and more so. And people don't understand. You know what they're doing? This was the turn I heard on TV yesterday, which amazed me. And I think Biden himself and all just his minion of idiots, they were saying how they don't want to turn, grammar schools into army campgrounds. They don't want to make it like prisons for the kids. And, you see men walking around with guns. And hey, look, they're not going to be walking around with M16 strapped to their back. They're not in the Nam. I mean, believe it or not, when you look at January 6th video, you're seeing more FBI agents who are strapped with guns than you are anybody else. But you don't see it because they got their jacket over it. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. But they're just amazingly silly, and they're willing to give up these rights that you know if we give them up, everything else goes. I mean, already think about what's happened just in the last 2 years. Our food supply is definitely being hit. You know what I mean? Want to admit it or not, or say it's natural causes. Whatever. When the biggest chicken farm in America burns down, and the same thing with the pig and the cow thing, where they had to kill thousands of them for no reason. Um, there's a food shortage. We know there's an energy shortage. And by the way, Biden has already confirmed there will be a food shortage, and it's going to be bad. And when he says that they just don't talk about it after that. Like he'll say it, like, "Oh yeah, by the way, this is going to suck." Anyway, let's talk about anything else. I like ice cream, like he did yesterday with this shooting when he came down. This massacre happens in Nashville, and this guy's talking about how he likes ice cream, and don't worry, he's got a full refrigerator of it upstairs. Don't worry, I got my ice cream now. All right, hey, let's talk about those dead kids. Just this guy's crazy. It's absolute craziness what's going on. So I noticed that they were, I think it was on MSNBC. They were mocking Christianity, and that's weird. so that's a little odd. I remember when the news or whatever would so try to stay away from anything religious, especially if it was like not favorable. They would kind of try to stick away, but it just seems like with Christianity, everybody feels like they could kind of take a whack, and it's pretty weird that we've gotten to that point because when push comes to shove, I mean, it's a good religion, it's a nice religion. I'm Catholic. I mean, you're taught to respect people, not kill people. What's so bad about it? What's the bad part about it that makes it evil? Like I guess this Saturday the trans people are going to be violent or something. I don't know. I saw it on TV yesterday. It sounds silly, but I guess it's a day of rage or whatever the hell they're calling it. So that's nice. So here's the funny thing about this trans day of rage thing, which once again is supposed to happen Saturday. This Saturday coming up in DC. They were saying, but I'd be careful everywhere, I guess. It's not really like it's not like when you see this trans movement, I thought of it a different way. Like sometimes, like let's say you would see a woman or a guy who's dressed like a woman, and in my head, like, I don't care what people do. It doesn't matter to me. So whatever. But if I looked at them, I might think, try a little harder. You know what I mean? That's all. Maybe work on the voice a little, or if you're trying, don't just put a wig on and walk in high heels and think that's it. You know what I mean? Try a little harder if you're trying to do the chick thing. That's all. And so, that's all I would think I would think about it, but like some of these guys, they're just like Buffalo Bill. They're not transgendered people. These are mentally ill sociopaths, that are you know, dressing as other people and becoming other personalities. That's you know, once again, do they have a mental issue? Well, split personality, does that count? I mean, like, sorry, I mean, that's I'm not being a dick here, but that's kind of what it is. I don't they made telling the truth bad. There's a clip, by the way, of comedian Nick DiPaolo, right? Hilarious. That guy's very Nick. I didn't realize how much I liked Nick DiPaolo. I've listened to him for years on like Opie and Anthony and things like that. And you kind of saw him around New York. Never like huge, but I gotta tell you, I thought about it the other day. Like every time I would listen to the guy, I'd laugh. I don't know why the guy that wasn't bigger, but he has his radio thing, or I guess it's a podcast thing, and he was going off the other day on what's her name, the press secretary, Jean, whatever her name is, and it was hilarious. And he gets so frustrated, and he like that. I would definitely recommend that guy's podcast. That guy's very funny, Nick DiPaolo, you know, but there's I don't know, there's because I guess, by the way, she came out and called something, I think the shooting, everything's racist. It doesn't matter what it was. Honestly, we're literally at the point now. Remember when I mean, it's global warming is racist. It's white people's fault. And it's only that way because white people hate everybody else apparently for some reason, and everybody hates them. It's just dumb, and they do it with everything. There is not one thing that happens that doesn't come out and they say it's racist, or they're doing the same thing now with homophobic, transphobic, whatever the hell it is, because they're using that with this Nashville massacre. They're saying now that basically, look, yeah, there was three kids that had nothing to do with anything. Those three adults that tried to help and were killed for it had nothing to do with anything except for literally trying to protect children. That was their biggest weakness. You know what I mean? But it's more about this trans and how the Catholic Church, or even just the government of Nashville, they're against trans people, and they're against mutilating your body before the age 18. It's just stupid. We live in a very, very, very stupid time. And it's terrifying. I think it's absolutely terrifying. But anyway, very quickly, I see Ed and John and everybody there in the chat room. Hey guys, yeah, if you want to go over, if you want to, I don't know. I think, like I said, I want to do this around 9 o'clock Monday through Friday, just for a little bit, just so we could talk about what's going on. I'm gonna add a phone line just so it's not just me rambling and whatever. Because, like I said, the watching the news for a certain amount of time is so depressing. It's just, and especially, I guess, what I realized probably about, I don't know, 5 6 years ago is once you watch 20 or 30 minutes of news, you're fine. Just stop. Just stop. Because what's going to happen now is for the last 20, 30 minutes of the show, it's just people plugging books and raising money and whatever. It's just horrible. But for the first 30, it's usually what's going on in the world. Now, yeah, you're gonna have to watch about 10 different stations now because they're all reporting different stuff. They all have a different take on everything. You know, that in itself, I'll tell you, the MSNBC, CNN take on things is crazy. Once again, bringing it back to this Nashville shooting. To have it be, the church's fault, the government's fault that this person has mental issues and was able to get a gun. Problem is, slip through they're gonna say the gun laws. Here's the problem. Like, I don't know if these guns were legal or not, so it is what it is, and there are obviously exceptions to the rule and things like that. But when you make laws, the only people that you are affecting are the people that follow laws. Okay, it's simple. You're not hurting the criminal because the criminal breaks laws. They don't care if their gun's legal. Believe it or not, most criminals don't have legal guns. It's true. But when you make these laws that are really restricting what an American's allowed to get, and they'll say, well, they were talking about muskets. Well, you don't know what they were talking about. But you were also then fighting a government that had muskets. I mean, times change. Biden himself has threatened the American public with the military, and laughed like, if your guns ain't gonna do dick. The only reason that they haven't gone further. Like, think about like they always use Canada and like Australia as these reference points, you know? Like they always say, "Hey, I want to be like that." I mean, how about no? No, because did you see what they did, during COVID? Did you see how they shut down Australia and locked people up? And it was for crazy stuff, man. It was like walking 10 feet away from your house and just I mean, you saw the videos, just craziness. You saw what they did in Canada to those truckers. I mean, took their money, put them in jail, took their livelihoods, and that was that. You stepped out of line, boy, like that. And what they do first too, by the way. They went and they got the guns first because they knew that there's no way these people are going to be able to revolt. I really, when they talk about that power switch, that power surge that was supposed to happen, you saw it happen during COVID. Now all of a sudden you got this weird triangle going on that we're not included in. You got this, China, Iraq, North Korea, Russia thing going on, and you're like, holy crap! Like like we used to talk about that years ago and say, well, that's the real axis of evil, all those four, because they want nukes, and oh well, North Korea has them, Russia has them, China has them, you know, Iran has them. Let's not say they don't. Just crazy, man. And they were talking the other day about those countries not dealing in the U.S. dollar and seeing, how what that would do to the U.S. economy. I mean, hold an economy that's already rocking because of inflation and mismanagement. Yikes, yikes, man. That's some bad stuff. Well, you know what? I think we should move on to happier topics. It's tough when you, like I said, all you do is you turn on the news and you see this nonsense, and you think to yourself, "Wow, this is crazy." So, what I'm going to do, I think, eventually, well, hopefully today, I'm just really lazy. Is I'm going to add a phone line, and we'll do that so everybody could call in. You can also join the chat room. Like I said, it's on YouTube, but and it's not really Renegade. It's just me babbling. You know what I mean? John's not here yet. Like I'm hoping through the grace, oh God, and Ross that this one really just enough already. All right, we get it. Enough. Hurry up. This is kind of ridiculous. So we hope that's happening soon. But if not, I'm so bored out of my mind. Before I got to go do stuff, I figured I would jump on, and I miss you guys. To be quite honest with you, you know what I mean. It's fun to get on here and catch up with some people and talk about this stuff. Because, like I said, sometimes you feel like you're a mental patient when you when you watch the news and you think to yourself, you know something? I know I'm going to sound crazy here, but this sounds a lot like Revelations. This really does. It's crazy stuff that's going on right now, and nobody seems to notice, which is the weirdest part of all of it. Like everybody's just ignoring all this stuff. Hey, we're once again we're at war really with Iran. We're going back and forth with bombs now for what's this, a week? And whatever. You'll be fine. Hey, you know something? Hey, Red Sox are going to play next week. Opening day, everybody excited. Stupid. Very dumb. Very dumb. But it is crazy when you think about the entire thing of okay, just real quick, getting onto a stupid topic real quick. I saw this and I thought this was kind of bizarre. There was this guy, he got kicked off this flight for being fatophobic and rude because this very heavy gentleman was on the on the phone. It says a man describing himself as an 18-year-old said he was traveling to his home country. He didn't say which one, and he had just boarded a second connecting flight, which he said would last roughly about 12 hours. When things got ugly real quick, I had the delight sight. Oh, uh-oh. He said, I had the delight sight of an obese man who was taking up a good chunk of my seat. The man identifying himself as something wrote, da, da, da. He said, am I an a-hole? The man continued his no holds barred narrative about the situation went on. I am not a small guy myself. I have quite broad shoulders and I'm 190 centimeters, nearly 6'3". So a full seat would have already been uncomfortable. He added, I told the flight attendant about the issue, and she told me that seat was paid for by the obese man and the flight was full. So look, like I think we've all had that kind of thing. And I feel bad for obese people. Very obese. I've been obese. Hell, I'm obese now. You know what I mean? Like it's just because right now I think what is it, 20, 30 pounds overweight and you're obese. Like I don't know what that is anymore. But the point is, you know what I mean? Like, I think the entire country is, but there are people that have taken it to a different level, that they're very, very large. I've had the thing where, and I'm not a small guy either. So what happens is you are sitting next to somebody like, first off, the seating can't be comfortable, just can't, it just, and it's, you're sitting there because like your shoulder's got to be in their shoulder. Their boob is like all over your arm and like their leg is touching your leg. And it is what it is at that point. Now this guy's looking at a 12-hour flight like that. Like, you know what I mean? Come on. Like sometimes you get on the flight and you always think, "Oh God, I hope that nobody bought this seat. I hope it's empty. Oh, how great would that be? I could put my bag there. I can lean across it. Oh, this is grand." Or you see the guy that's literally taking up his and part of your area. You know what I mean? You got to smush in for 12 hours. So now I guess everybody's saying that this guy's kind of a jerk. This guy's saying he didn't name the airline. He said, I asked the flight attendant how it's possible that my seat still rendered as available as it's being used by someone else's literal fat rolls. I then added on how the airline wasn't absolutely terrible. Just a few years ago, it was just by accident. It went down a hill by quality. Uh, the writer further noted these comments prompted the flight attendant to call me rude and just made her double down on having me kicked off the plane. Though she reassured me I'd be compensated for this trouble, as I told her I wasn't traveling for vacation. Uh, let's see. He says, I'm having to pay for the lack of discipline of another person. The fat man took his opportunity to call me fatophobic. He said, You're a fatophobic S word. And some other people around me gave me the stink eye. Now, you don't want to get the stink eye. That's the worst thing. Especially when you're walking around and they actually turn and look at you. I know what the stink eye is. But the fat guy calling him a fatophobic S word, how about, you kind of understand that, I mean, the guy didn't have to be rude. I get that. He shouldn't be. I mean, but still, but that's a hard situation. Like to being on a plane, and I think everybody hates being on a plane. Obviously he's not in first class, so he's in coach. He's sitting next to a guy who's taking up his seat plus. He's all rubbing up against him and sweating on him. It's disgusting. Like I said, I've been there. I've had to go, and I didn't go far, thankfully. 2-hour flights, 3-hour flights, and that, like, when they get up and you could feel their leg peeling off your leg, just it's disgusting. So guy says, he went on, I know they think I'm a bad person for this, but on the other hand, I'm having to pay for the lack of discipline of another person, as well as all this Eddie SE Airlines booking systems. Well, I don't know what that really means. The airline staff sent a letter of complaint that I got appealed, and the consequences in the complaint, being temporarily banned, were removed less than an hour later. He also wrote in the letter of complaint, it said I was being rude to other passengers and the staff. Since it got appealed so quick, and I got to travel the next day anyway, I'm really not sure if the TA, the a-hole, whatever, I don't know what that means. I know air travel can make people turn into idiots. Asked the man in conclusion, my comments that I offended both the fat man and the airline and staff. He said, I don't know. He basically just said, after the man, in conclusion, for my comments, what is this? IATA. I don't know what that means. For my comments that have offended everybody. So, whatever. I mean, when push comes to shove, we've all kind of been there. It's not cool. There was a time, see, once again, just a few years ago, where they were saying, like, if you weighed a certain amount, you had to pay for 2 seats, and everybody got pissy with that. You know what I mean? That's not right to do. Well, you're paying for space when you're on a plane. There's a limited amount of space on that plane, that's going to go from Boston to wherever you're going. You know what I mean? Like, so there's only a limited amount of space. So they're allowed to charge whatever they want. Now, if I'm taking up less space than you, or, they say that my seat space costs X amount of dollars, but you're in on it. Yeah. I mean, you're inconveniencing everybody. Maybe you should have to pay. Like I said, I've had people, flying is bad anyway. I've had people not only be like right up on me, but bring their own food on the plane, which the stinky stuff, like the stuff that just the entire plane now reeks. And I got to be the guy right next to it. So I'm getting a full whiff of it the entire way. And I'm like sensitive to that stuff. That stuff turns my stomach. Like just, if you're eating goat anything, you know what I mean? Like just, don't eat your goat kebabs, when you get there. Don't bring that on the plane. It's disgusting. So anyway, I guess they let this guy back on the plane, but they were saying that most of the passengers were shaming him. They're saying one wrote, it probably would have handled it differently if you had have handled it differently, sir. I know air travel can make people turn into idiots, so please, everybody, don't be that idiot. Another individual in the comments said, didn't mince his words, and said, "You are an a-hole." The person then said, the statement, "The lack of discipline got me to vote this way." Sure, maybe this guy had lack of discipline, but maybe he had a medical issue that keeps him from losing weight. Yeah, Well, that person, I can tell you right now that the person that wrote this comment, and I want to say it one more time, the statement, the lack of discipline got me to vote this way. I guess they voted negatively about it. Sure, maybe this guy had lack of discipline, but maybe he had a medical issue that keeps him from losing weight. That person votes Democrat and will always vote Democrat. That person right there is made and it made up this excuse for this person, believes it, and kind of then tries to guilt you on it when you don't know that to be the case. And by the way, when I was, heavier and I know people, whatever, that have gained weight, and there's always an injury to blame because that's normally how why are you getting heavy? You hurt your knee, you hurt your back, you hurt your leg, and legitimately, and you get heavier. Some people it's not legitimate. It's because it's better to stay home and watch TV and smoke a joint and laugh with your friends and eat pizza. It is what it is. You know what I mean? But the whole thing is everybody's going to say it's medical. What? And by the way, you'll get medical, ailments from being big if you don't have anything wrong with you prior. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird that they kind of got on that guy. I mean, he shouldn't have handled it that way. I mean, yes, I always feel bad for that. You know what I think the worst thing is? And I always feel bad for when you see like a very heavy couple, like man and woman, but they're really heavy. And you always think like, I wonder if they met each other at this weight, or did they get to this weight together? Was it like, were they just like two, people that weighed the average, whatever, and then 10 years later they're both 450 pounds and just whatever. But I think the saddest thing is when you see the little fat kids with them, because you know what the fat kids are going to go through. You know what I mean? That's mean. You shouldn't be raising your kids to be like that. And then I was looking at them and I was like, oh, because kids are mean. When I was a kid, man, like, oof, the things people will say, like, just amazing. And that's the mentality of liberals today: is that mean little girl from the grammar school, that's gonna yell and scream about everything. And then when you say, hey, you're wrong about that, yeah, you're racist, you're homophobic, you're transphobic, you're whatever. So now, once again, that I guess they were saying that NPR the other day was talking about how trans people, everybody should give up guns, but trans people, because they need to, straighten things out. What the hell does that mean? Like, what does that mean? So, like you're saying now that trans people should be shooting, and like I said, you're not appealing to the guy that's really trying to live his life like a woman and doesn't want to be noticed, but just live his life quietly like a woman, whatever. You know what I mean? You're talking about Buffalo Bills. You're talking about, psychopaths. You're talking about guys that wear panties and, Madonna pointy boob bras, while they're, cutting the skin off a woman in little diamond shapes. It's just silly. It's silly. But to give them the out, like, yeah, well, well, the reason that person was a mass shooter was because they were trans. Well, that's the issue. But you gotta say that's why. Not that they had an issue with everybody else's actions, but the fact that, well, you're screwing with their biology and hormones and all that stuff. And yeah, maybe it has some consequences eventually. No, but blame, heavy metal music and video games. That's what's making everybody. It's Hollywood. It's all that stuff, but it's also messing around with somebody's hormones, which is craziness. All right, guys. Once again, I think I'm gonna get out of here. But today is what? Today is the 29th. Oh, March. I'll be on tomorrow. I'm gonna try to get on around 9. I'm gonna grab some audio and some stuff we could listen to, and I think I'm gonna try to get the phone line too. So, like I said, this isn't Renegade Radio. John's not here, and I don't know when he'll be back. Depends on business and all that good stuff. So I'll be popping on, I think, Monday through Friday, just for a little bit, so we can hang out and catch up on things, and hopefully not be so depressing. Maybe this will all turn around. Who knows? Maybe we have strong leadership and that I just don't know about, and that everything's going to turn around and be fine. So if that does happen, we'll jump on here every Monday through Friday around 9 o'clock, and we'll hang out. So thanks for listening, and I will see you tomorrow.